Hello and welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl, and here we are with another series. This time it's focused on Warhammer the Old World. So for those that aren't aware, Warhammer the Old World is a return to the original lore and world of Warhammer Fantasy Battle before Age of Sigmar, and with it brings essentially a new game for the tabletop, but is a return to the style of Warhammer Fantasy Battle with rank and file. Now, this has been announced as being in creation right now with Games Workshop. There is currently no release date, but it certainly is expected either by the end of 2023 or the first half of 2024. So in reality, not that far away. Now, in terms of what this series is looking at, it's looking at those models that are currently available to buy that could well be expected to be part of the army books and army lists that will be used in Warhammer the Old World. Now, we do know there are new models coming, and we'll look at that when we come on to each of the factions. We'll be looking at the factions in alphabetical order, starting with those that are currently in the narrative, and then looking at those that are outside of the narrative, though we do know there are at least rules coming for every faction when the game is first released. Now, why am I doing this? Well, for people like me who are old Warhammer Fantasy Battle players that probably still have existing armies, maybe gathering dust somewhere, who haven't been keeping up to date with what's available on the web store, it's a look at what you could still buy to flesh out the armies that you already own. If you're new to Warhammer Fantasy Battle, then it's a look at, if you were going to start an army, what an army might look like, what the models might look like, and give you a chance to maybe dip in early. If you're like me, I'm a very slow painter, so this gives me a chance to buy models in advance of the game being released and have them painted and ready to play when the game does fully release. And as well, not many people are sat there with, £300, £400, £500. We don't know how big the armies are going to be to drop on an army on day one. So this does allow you to then spread the costs over buying the units over many, many months. And sort of you can buy a unit, paint it up, and next month buy a unit, and you're not having to find the money all in one go. Now, I should say everything that is in this series are personal opinions only. I have no inside knowledge. I have no relationship with Games Workshop in that way, other than being a fan of Warhammer Fantasy Battle and the lore of that game, and everything in the series is correct at the time of recording only, and I have based a lot of what I'm going to talk about on the last remaining army book that was published for the factions. Many of those will be 8th edition, but there are a few like Chaos Dwarfs and Bretonnia that didn't have 8th edition army books. Now, before we get into it, other miniatures are available. You can find, obviously, the old classic miniatures that are no longer available to buy from Games Workshop on eBay, for example. You've got other manufacturers that you can use as counts as, such as DS Vault with their sort of Crusaders and Templars and so on, Kings of War. There's also those 3D printer opportunities out there, whether you own a 3D printer and you're looking for the files, or whether you're looking for someone to do it for you. That's an option, but always remember that non-official Games Workshop models are not usually allowed to be used in their stores, at gaming tables, or in the tournaments. Also, when you're looking at the Games Workshop models on their website, check the bases. Some of these will have round bases, some of them will have square. Now, we know that they're going to be square bases, but we also know there's going to be some base size changes, so please keep that in mind when you're buying the models. And again, if a lot of times the bases you don't really care if you're just playing at home or playing in a local club, but if you are playing in tournament, you will need obviously the correct base sizes. But if you're not too fussed about making sure they're fully correct, then you've obviously, consider the fact that when you're playing a rank and file game like Warhammer Fantasy Battle was, and like the old world will be, movement trays will be a really important part. So you can mitigate a lot of the base issues with movement trays. Also, check the material. Some people really don't like fine cast, so there's still quite a lot of the old models that are dotted around that may well be fine cast, so check that out versus plastic. And if you are looking at stuff off eBay or whatever, and it's forge wheeled, that of course will be resin, so for example the Chaos Dwarves. And overall, given what we know about Warhammer the Old World, the timeline it's going to be set in, I would avoid buying named characters unless there's a nostalgia thing. There will surely be rules, even if Games Workshop doesn't do it. The fan base will provide rules for some of those characters that you might have played in the past. You can consider the timeline and maybe take a gamble on, if you look at some of the longer lived characters, whether they be demons or whatever, even elves, for example. Maybe those characters will make an appearance. But with a new game, with a new timeline, I can certainly expect that we might see a few new named characters put in. Though, of course, as always, you can use these named characters as accounts as. So if you had Karl Franz, the Emperor of the Empire, for example, on his Griffin, there's no reason you couldn't use him as a general on Griffin if that option was available. So that is essentially the intro of why we're doing it and some of the considerations that you need to consider while we go through each of these videos. But without further ado, let's go and look at the next faction. Well, as we continue our look at the factions that sit on the outside of the narrative campaign, those not getting rules beyond the initial release as far as we know, not getting new miniatures at all as far as we know, we're looking at Demons of Chaos next. Now, Demons of Chaos are in a pretty damn good place, and that's because they haven't really changed. Some of the demons actually, go across both Warhammer 40k and also Age of Sigmar. Demons have been pretty static in terms of their type and aesthetic in Age of Sigmar from Warhammer Fantasy Battle, so they're in a pretty good situation. And we can see that with the Special Lords. And I have to say, if you were going to pick up a named character for any faction and expect it to be part of the setting, then the Demons would be one. They're kind of eternal. They've been around for centuries, even thousands of years. And at the end of the day, every single one of these special characters could be used as accounts as of something else. So brand new miniatures as well for brand new, relatively new in terms of miniatures and plastic kits for all of these Special Lords. So if you look at Be'lakor there, top center, he could be used as a demon prince as much as Be'lakor himself. It's a fantastic looking miniature, well worth picking up, though not cheap at £95, which is the same for all of these greater demons. Starting in terms of pictures, though, on the left, you've got Shalaxi Hellbane. That's a keeper of secrets. You've got Scarbrand, which is a bloodthirster. Next, followed by Kairos Fateweaver, a Lord of Change, and finishing with what you could use as Kugath Plaguefather on the website. He's known as Rotigus. In at £95, but could easily be used as Kugath Plaguefather, who was in the Demons of Chaos book in Warhammer Fantasy Battle. And finally there you've got a Slaneshi one of Silesk at £35, all currently available, and certainly all of these greater demons and Be'lakor himself could all be used counts as if the named character is not in. So I think pretty safe bet picking these up, though they are not cheap. Looking at the Lords, again, every single Lord who is available in the Demons book at the end of the 8th edition is still currently available on Games Workshop's website, which is your Bloodthirster, your Lord of Change, your Great Unclean One, and your Keeper of Secrets. And we've already seen the named version of those kits, all at the same price. You've got the Gaunt Summoner. Now, that is the picture top center there. You can either pick him up for £26 on a disc, flying disc, or on foot, as you see in the picture, for £19. Makes quite an interesting addition for a Tzeentch army, certainly. You've got the Infernal Enrapturess at £27.50. Now, that's the bottom middle. And then at the bottom left there, you can see the Demon Prince, £50, relatively new kit, and one that's going to fit in with pretty much any aesthetic. And all of these, again, very, very safe choices, I would expect, for a Demons of Chaos army list. In terms of special heroes, well, again, all are still currently available. So you can see from Demons of Chaos, pretty much every unit so far is still available on Games Workshop's website. So you've got named characters, which, as I've said, you can. I would advise staying away from named characters and all the factions, but Demons of Chaos is probably the safest. And to be honest, all those named characters can be used as something else. In terms of these special heroes, they can be used as a Herald of Khorne, Herald of Tzeentch, Herald of Nurgle, and so on. So you've got Skull Taker there on the left at £25, Karanak not pictured, £25, the Blue Scribes, which is next, second in from the left there at £30, the Changeling not pictured, a Tzeentch character at £22.50, Epidemius there on his chair, that's the Nurgle Herald, you can see him third in, £35, Horticulus Slimux, £37.50, not pictured, but available. And then finally the Mask of Slaanesh at £22.50 there at essentially the far right of those pictures. And again, could be used as a Slaaneshi Herald. So all available and all, I think, are relatively safe choices. So when you get to the generic heroes, this is exactly what they could be. You've got Herald of Khorne, Herald of Tzeentch, and you could use all those named characters of that. But you can also pick up a Herald of Khorne on a Juggernaut for £30 and on foot for £19. You've got the Heralds of Tzeentch on the Burning Chariot for £32.50 or on a disc for £30. You've got a Herald of Nurgle, which is known as the Poxbringer at £19. You've got the Herald of Slaanesh, known as a Transweaver, for £18. You've got the Exalted Flamer, which is pictured at the bottom on the right there, £32.50. Blood Throne of Khorne at £27.50. You can see there, bottom left. And then you've got the Exalted Seeker Chariot of Slaanesh. Now, the interesting thing with this kit is the Exalted Seeker Chariot is actually two Seeker Chariot kits combined. And that's actually stated on the website. So if you're looking to do an Exalted Seeker Chariot, you'd have to buy two of the Seeker Chariot kits and combine them. And that then takes you to £42. And that brings us on to the core units. Again, there's tons of units for Demons, and they're all available, bar one. This is the first one so far that is not available, and that is the Plague Toads. So, your standard core troops that you'd expect. Bloodletters, Plague Bearers, Demonettes, all available, 10 for £25. Pink Horrors, 10 for £27.50. But you'd also need to think about getting Blue Horrors, which are 10 for £27.50, which split from the pink ones. Now, Chaos Furies are available. However, you do have to pick them up as part of the Chaos Beast pack, and you get 6 in there for £32.50, along with 6 Raptorixes, I think, which weren't currently in any list. So that's just something to think about. If you do want to pick up Furies, then you're going to end up potentially with some models that aren't going to be, you aren't going to see. You got Flesh Hounds in there, 5 for £35, and Nurglings 3 for £22.50. I think so far all of these, maybe bar the Furies, are all highly likely to be in the list. I can't see them not being. Plague Toads, as we said, not available, but Seekers of Slaanesh are £20, and Screamers of Tzeentch 3 for £22.50. So yeah, I mean, a huge amount of selection there for Demons, and Demons is pretty safe as well. If you think about if you were going to buy into Demons, then you can use the same kits in Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40k, bar the bases. and I will keep mentioning that in the videos, is just consider what you're going to do with the bases. If you're not going to play in tournaments, then I am actually thinking for those models that I already do have round bases for, that I'll just put them in a movement tray, which will rank them up perfectly fine. So I'm not planning on rebasing anything that I'm not planning on taking to a tournament. So that's something to think about. Special units. There's a few missing. We're actually starting to see some special units that are no longer available. So you've got Fireworms of Tzeentch, Blood Beasts and Pox Riders not available from Demons of Chaos, but Blood Crushers are, which are Bloodletters riding Juggernauts of Khorne. That's 6 for 65, which is a very cool looking kit. The Seeker Chariot you can see there for 21. As I said, if you combine two of those, that's what gets you the Exalted Seeker Chariot. You've got Flamers there, 3 for £22.50. Beasts of Nurgle, but you actually get one there for £32.50. And also Fiends of Slanesh, 3 for £35. So still plenty of choice despite the few that are missing there. And to be honest, I think you're not going to miss that. And there's more than enough selection so far on Demons of Chaos to build an entire army with, though I do suggest again not buying too much too quickly until you know points, costs, size of units and so on. So maybe buy one box of Blood Crushers, one box of Flamers, maybe buy 20 Bloodletters. Don't go crazy and buy 40 or whatever. As I said, a lot of the point of this is for people to buy early so they can either spread the money out over a period of months so that by the time the Old World is released, they'll actually have a full army, and also to paint them up in that time as well. And finally then, rare units, all still currently available. You've got the Skull Cannon, that centre top there, £27.50. You've got the Plague Drones, which is in the bottom middle there, 3 for £27.50. You've got the Hellflayer still available, £21. A Burning Chariot, which is bottom left there, that's £32.50. And the Contorted Epitome, which is a really particularly nice model there, at £35. And a Soul Grinder, which is still available as well at £45. So Demons of Chaos are in an absolutely fantastic position as we go into a release of the Old World, with an army list that could be released for Demons and that will be released for Demons. It was listed on there. It just isn't due to get new models. Not that it needs them right now. Or it's not due to potentially get updated rules and balanced rules throughout the life of the Old World, as far as we know today. So, and as I said, base shape and size aside, Demons are the one faction that can be used in Age of Sigmar, can be used in Warhammer 40k as they are built here. So, there's lots of flexibility with Demons across all three game systems. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, though, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comments down below. As always, if you want to see more content, please hit that subscribe button. It's totally free for you to do. It means a lot for me. So thank you for that in advance. And you've been watching The Ghost Owl, and I'll see you very soon.